infinite amount of cash. You can settle with it. There's an infinite amount of cash. You can settle with it. There's an infinite amount of cash. You can settle with it.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Saturday, June 6th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.75% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,651, a high of 9,756, and a low of 9,552. That's $1 for 10,361 Satoshis. Volume is a little low as it is a Saturday, with 2,181 Bitcoins trading hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 85% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.57%. I spent about 2 hours in the bar, drinking Bloody Marys for the V8 nutritional content, and watching the flights from L.A. I'd eaten nothing but grapefruit for about 24 hours, and my head was adrift from its moorings. You better watch yourself, I thought. There are limits to what the human body can endure. You don't want to break down and start bleeding from the ears right here in the terminal. Not in this town. In Las Vegas, they kill the weak and deranged. I realized this and kept quiet, even when I felt symptoms of a terminal blood sweat coming on. But this passed. I saw the cocktail waitress getting nervous, so I forced myself to get up and walk swiftly out of the bar. No sign of my attorney. Down to the VIP car rental booth where I traded the Red Shark for a white Cadillac convertible. This goddamn Chevy has caused me a lot of trouble, I told them. I get the feeling that people are putting me down, especially in gas stations, when I have to get out and open the hood manually. Well, of course, said the man behind the desk. What you need, I think, is one of our Mercedes 600 Town Cruiser specials with air conditioning. You can even carry your own fuel if you want. We make that available. Do I look like a goddamn Nazi? I said. I'll have a natural American car, or nothing at all. They called up the white Coupe de Ville at once. Everything was automatic. I could sit in the red leather driver's seat and make every inch of the car jump by touching the proper buttons. It was a wonderful machine. 10 grand worth of gimmicks and high-priced special effects. The rear windows leapt up like frogs from a dynamite pond. The white canvas top ran up and down like a roller coaster. The dashboard was full of esoteric lights and dials and meters that I would never understand. But there was no doubt in my mind that it was a superior machine. The caddy wouldn't get off the line quite as fast as the Red Shark, but once it got rolling around 80, it was pure smooth hell. All that elegant, upholstered weight lashing across the desert was like rolling through midnight on the old California Zephyr. I handled the whole transaction with a credit card that I later learned was canceled. Completely bogus, but the big computer hadn't mixed me yet, so I was still a fat gold credit risk. Later, looking back on this transaction, I knew the conversation that had almost certainly ensued. Hello. This is VIP Car Rentals in Las Vegas. We're just calling to check on number 875045616B. Just a routine credit check, nothing urgent. Long pause on the other end. Then, holy shit! What? Pardon me. Yes, we have that number. It's been placed on emergency red line status. Call the police at once, and don't let them out of your sight. Another long pause. Well, you see, that number is not on our current red list, and number 845045616-B just left our lot in a new Cadillac convertible. No. Yes, he's long gone. Totally insured. Where? I think he said St. Louis. Yes, that's what his card says. Raul Duke, left fielder and batting champion of the St. Louis Browns. 5 days at $25 per, plus 25 cents a mile. His card was valid, so of course we had no choice. This is true. The car rental agency had no legal reason to hassle me, since my card was technically valid. During the next 4 days, I drove that car all over Las Vegas, even passing the VIP agency's main office on Paradise Boulevard several times. And at no time was I bothered by any show of rudeness. This is one of the hallmarks of Vegas hospitality. The only bedrock rule is, don't burn the locals. Beyond that, nobody cares. They'd rather not know. If Charlie Manson checked into the Sahara tomorrow morning, nobody would hassle him, as long as he tipped big. I drove straight to the hotel after renting the car. There was still no sign of my attorney, so I decided to check in on my own, if only to get off the street and to avoid a public breakdown. I left the Whale in a VIP parking lot and shambled self-consciously into the lobby with one small leather bag, a handcrafted, custom-built satchel that had just been made for me by a leathersmith friend in Boulder. Our room was at the Flamingo, in the nerve center of the Strip, right across the street from Caesar's Palace and the Dunes, site of the drug conference. The bulk of the conferencees were staying at the Dunes, but those of us who signed up fashionably late were assigned to the Flamingo. The place was full of cops. I saw this at a glance. Most of them were just standing around, trying to look casual, all dressed exactly alike in their cut-rate Vegas casuals, plaid Bermuda shorts, Arnie Palmer golf shirts, and hairless white legs taping down to rubberized beach sandals. It was a terrifying scene to walk into. A super stakeout of some kind. If I hadn't known about the conference, my mind might have snapped. You got the impression that somebody was going to be gunned down in a blazing crossfire at any moment. Maybe the entire Manson family. My arrival was badly timed. Most of the national DAs and other cop types had already checked in. Those were the people who now stood along the lobby and stared grimly at newcomers. What appeared to be the final stakeout was only about 200 vacationing cops with nothing better to do. They didn't even notice each other. I waded up to the desk and got in line. The man in front of me was a police chief from some small town in Michigan. His Agnew-style wife was standing about 3 feet to his right while he argued with a desk clerk. "Look, fella, I told you I have a postcard here that says I have reservations for the hotel. Hell, I'm with the district attorney's conference. I've already paid for the room." "Sorry, sir. You're on the late list. Your reservations were transferred to the Moonlight Motel, which is out on Paradise Boulevard and actually a very fine place of lodging, and only 16 blocks from here with its own pool and—" "You dirty little faggot! Call the manager. I'm sick of listening to this dog shit." The manager appeared and offered to call a cab. This was obviously the second or maybe even the third act in a cruel drama that had begun long before I showed up. The police chief's wife was crying. The gaggle of friends that he'd mustered for support were too embarrassed to back him up. Even now, in this showdown at the desk, with his little angry cop firing his best and final shot, they knew he was beaten. He was going against the rules, and the people hired to enforce those rules said, "No vacancy." After 10 minutes of standing in line behind this noisy little asshole and his friends, I felt the bile rising. Where did this cop, of all people, get the nerve to argue with somebody in terms of right and reason? I had been there with these fuzzy little shitheads, and so I'd sensed the desk clerk. He had the air of a man who'd been fucked around with in his time by a fairly good cross-section of mean-tempered, rule-crazy cops. So now he was giving their argument back to them. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong, man, or who's paid the bill and who hasn't. What matters now is that for the first time in my life, I can work out on a pig. Fuck you, officer. I'm in charge here, and I'm telling you that we don't have a room for you. I was enjoying this whiff song, but after a while I felt dizzy, bad, nervous, and my impatience got the better of my amusement. So I stepped around the pig and spoke directly to the desk clerk. "Say," I said, "I hate to interrupt, but I have a reservation, and I wonder if maybe I could just sort of slide through and get out of your way. I smiled, letting him know that I'd been digging his snake bully act on the cop party that was now standing there, psychologically off balance, and staring at me like I was some kind of water rat crawling up to the desk. I looked pretty bad, wearing old Levi's and white Chuck Taylor All-Star basketball sneakers, and my 10-peso Acapulco shirt that had long since come apart at the shoulder seams from all that road wind. My beard was about 3 days old, bordering on standard wino trim, and my eyes were totally hidden by Sandy Bull's Saigon mirror shades. But my voice had the tone of a man who knows he has a reservation. I was gambling on my attorney's foresight, but I couldn't pass a chance to put the horn into a cop. And I was right. The reservation was in my attorney's name. The desk clerk hit his bell to summon the bag boy. "This is all I have with me right now," I said. "The rest is out there in that white Cadillac convertible." I pointed to the car we could all see parked just outside the front door. "Can you have somebody drive it around to the room?" The desk clerk was friendly. "Don't worry about a thing, sir. Just enjoy your stay here, and if there's anything you need, just call the desk." I nodded and smiled, half watching the stunned reaction of the cop crowd right next to me. They were stupid with shock. Here they were, arguing with every piece of leverage they could command for a room they'd already paid for, and suddenly their whole act gets sideswiped by some crusty drifter who looks like something out of an Upper Michigan hobo jungle. And he checks in with a handful full of credit cards? Jesus, what's happening in this world? That was, of course, Hunter S. Thompson from the classic book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's also a great movie by Terry Gilliam, starring Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Good stuff. But let's get started. The jobs report had a misclassification error that made the May unemployment rate look better than it is. Here's what happened. Blah, 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 blah. It would have been 3% higher than reported, meaning that the unemployment rate would have been 16.3% instead of the widely advertised 13.3%. As I'm sure you recall, the president had a press conference yesterday and celebrated these numbers, even saying that George Floyd himself would have looked down and been happy to see our unemployment numbers. The joy of the stock market as it exploded up a full 3%, 3.15%, 829 points to 27,110, all on the power of a jobs report that turned out to be fake just 24 hours later. Isn't it amazing? Aren't you glad the stock market's closed on weekends? It's great. It's the best. It says here, whoopsie, exclamation, informal, used to show recognition of a mistake or minor accident. Whoopsie. That's right. Let's see what's going on in Bitcoin. $90 million daily. That's what it would take to sustain the Bitcoin price at $100,000 a coin. $90 million of Bitcoin purchases daily. That's a lot of Bitcoin. Ooh, art. 1 million Bitcoin will force JP Morgan to Wyoming for safety. Interesting. Caitlin Long is expecting company out there in the middle of nowhere. She said on the Kaiser report that in the future, Bitcoin may cost $1 million, which will bring new forms of legal problems for owners and financial institutions. There are people now finally starting to put leads on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is being lent out, and that's what lenders do. They put leads on collateral, she said. Oh, finally, somebody with me. We're skating to where the puck is going to be and thinking about where the attack vectors are going to come from. And I guess one of them could be that if Bitcoin costs $1 million, guess what? Now, all of a sudden plaintiffs' attorneys start coming after everybody and saying, hey, you bought a Bitcoin that somebody had a lead against, and now it's mine, and they try to take it away from you. I especially like her use of the Wayne Gretzky quote here, that you should skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where the puck was. Classic Gretzky quote. Sounds like interesting stuff going on in Wyoming. I don't know. What do you think? Ranch house, Wyoming? Out on the country? Watching the sunset? Sounds kind of boring, but with all this shit going on, it also sounds kind of nice, right? I don't know. Wyoming, huh? I have to look at it. And now, let's do the price one more time before we do the news. The price of Bitcoin was down 0.69% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,659, a high of 9,756, and a low of 9,552. Volume's a little low as it's a weekday with 2,071 Bitcoins trading hands. For $1, you can get 10,352 Satoshis. The market continues to lean margin long, with 85% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.55%. And now, the news. Hopefully there's less today, right? It's a weekend and everything. Ah, yes. After talking for 45 minutes about jobs, equality, the 2016 election, Trump signals to Yamiche to shush when she asked the president how he plans to address systemic racism. So our official plan is, shh, don't say anything. Okay. John Kelly agrees with Mathis. I think we need to look harder at who we elect. I think we should look at people that are running for office and put them through the filter. What is their character like? What about their ethics? And it's great to see all this questioning and everything. Now that it's way too late. Sure, it would have been great to say this before the election. Sure, it would have been great to say this before you took a job working for the guy and lent him all of your credibility. Sure, it would have been great to say this during the impeachment trial when perhaps he could have been removed from office, but better late than never. Welcome to the party, pal. We keep going back and forth on this quartering issue. Defense Secretary Esper has changed his mind yet again, giving the order for all active duty troops brought into the capital region to return to their home bases. Certainly you all remember yesterday when we celebrated for perhaps the second time in America's history. The Third Amendment had been evoked, the right of the people not to quarter soldiers in their homes or businesses. The Quartering Act, finally some protection from quartering. Yes, I even tweeted it again. Third Amendment works. No quartering. Oh, yes. Remember yesterday when they thought the unemployment rate went down? That was like when they said that the virus rate was going down. You could try wishing into one hand and shitting into the other and see which fills up first, right? You ain't leading but two things back there, Jack and shit, and Jack left town. Peter Todd writes, it's good to put numbers on this stuff. The phrase is, a few bad apples spoil the bunch, because it's self-reinforcing. Who but a shitty person would want to be a cop these days? At some point, the right thing to do is fire them all and reset. We're probably at that point. Kumali Ninjani, the actor, once again, writes, Police decided to violently quell protests to loudly proclaim they won't change. This strategy backfired because now we have hundreds of videos of cops using excessive force. People who didn't think police brutality was an issue last week now believe police reform to be essential. So the violent strategy has not worked, will not work, has never worked. Bitcoin's better because it's constantly decentralized itself, whereas other altcoins started out centralized and became more centralized. Yeah, we all know that. This is pretty telling here. Police are now brutalizing everyone just to maintain their ability to brutalize black people. It's pretty right on. Just like to ask everyone to like this show, give us a thumbs up and a share. About 22 people watching us on a Saturday morning. How's it going, guys? We will be trying to take some phone calls. It looked like we were light on news today, but that's something I've been hoping every single day, but it doesn't seem to happen. They suspended the 2 Buffalo police officers, but Jill Winebanks, former Watergate prosecutor and very impressive woman, says that they need more. We need more suspensions, arrest for assaults, and new rules and training for all police in the U.S. I think we're going to get to it later, but the Buffalo police officers are pretty impressive. After they suspended these 2 officers, the other 57, perhaps 59 or so, everyone in this group here, the emergency response team, they all resigned from the emergency response team in protest, not over knocking the guy down. Oh, that's what you thought. Knocking the guy down, not giving him first aid, allowing him to bleed out of his ears on the street. A 75-year-old man. No. They resigned from the task force in protest because these cops were suspended without pay. I mean, they're out there knocking down an old man doing their job. So really impressive work from Buffalo. The obvious answer is fire them all. Fire them all, fire them all, fire them all. Then try them in court for assault. Enough. Remember that border wall that the president was building? People are sawing through and climbing over Trump's border wall. It doesn't work. It's almost like General Patton said years ago. Fixed fortifications are a monument to the stupidity of man. I should get that on a little button. Fixed fortifications are a monument to the stupidity of man. Build a wall so we know right where it is. We know right how tall it is. We can go around it, over it, under it, or through it. The wall is stationary. It never moves. It's the easiest target to hit in the world. It never changes. If it changes, it's visible. Walls are terrible. On a national day of mourning, Rand Paul was the only opposition to a bill that would make lynching a federal crime. And he had the nerve to tell the Senate's only black senators that their bill did not take lynching seriously enough. There are no words. It was classic to see the filibuster used in its original form to block lynching bills, and then in the modern time to see it used once again to block lynching bills. It just had a beautiful historical synchronicity to it there. It's a bunch of people with guns gathering outside of gun stores. Seems like they're rallying supremacist games. Let's see. Yes, they're returning the troops home, so that's good. This is from a couple of days ago, but I don't think we played it, so let's just watch it again. This is from Seattle, Washington. Don't kill him. Hit him hard. Get him out of the way. See, now, it's sad because this guy probably thinks he's doing the right thing. He probably thinks that he's saving protesters' lives here. But the reality that we've already drifted over into this military frame where the officer is walking through the troops before the battle, and he's saying, don't kill him, but hit him hard. Don't kill him, but hit him hard. And he's talking about American protesters there. Here we go. Finally. I don't know why he hasn't run yet. I was all ready for The Rock. Even yesterday, I was saying that it was time for Joe Biden / The Rock. Someone corrected me, saying, of course, The Rock would never run with anyone but The Rock. So I suggested The Rock / The Rock for 2020. But here he is, future President Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And you'd be surprised he's actually, again, he has that personality and the persona of the wrestler and everything. But when the actual man himself speaks, who's a very put together and strong gentleman, obviously, he's got it all together. He's better than the current occupant. Let's hear from The Rock.
Where are you?
Where are you?
Where is our leader? Where are you? Where is our leader at this time? At this time when our country is down on its knees, begging, pleading, hurt, angry, frustrated, in pain, begging and pleading with its arms out, just wanting to be heard, begging and pleading and praying for change. Where are you? Where is our compassionate leader who's going to step up to our country, who's down on its knees and extend a hand and say, you stand up. Stand up with me. Stand up with me because I got you. I got you. I got you. I hear you. I'm listening to you. And you have my word that I'm going to do everything in my power and until my dying day, my last breath, to do everything I can to create the change that is needed to normalize equality because Black lives matter. Where are you? It's that same compassionate leader who has to come back and readdress the country, to give important context, to give important perspective on the comments that were just made. Of course, all lives matter. Every single one. All lives matter because we, as Americans, we believe in inclusivity. We believe in acceptance. We believe in human rights. We believe in equality for all. That's what we believe in. So, of course, all lives matter. But in this moment right now, this defining, pivotal, explosive moment where our country is down on its knees, the floorboards of our country are becoming unhinged. In this moment, we must say the words, Black lives matter. Where are you? Where are you? Because here's what happens. When you extend a hand and you reach out to Americans who are in pain, and they stand with you. They stand with you. Here's what happens. The entire country stands and rises as well. There is military force that has been deployed on our own people. Looters, yes. Criminals, absolutely. But our protesters who are begging and pleading, our protesters who are in pain, you would be surprised how people in pain would respond when you say to them, I care about you. When you say to them, I'm listening to you. You'd be surprised how people would respond, how Americans would respond if you say to them, I care about you. I am listening to you. This is our country. You are all my people. And I take full responsibility and full accountability for something that has been hundreds of years of systemic disease. Why am I taking full accountability? Because I am your leader. I'm your leader, and I'm going to do everything I can to make this right. And I'll tell you what, You give me some trust. You give me some time. You give me some effort. You give me some love. I'm right there with you. And together, we're going to make this right. Together, we're going to create that change. Together, we're going to normalize equality. We're going to do it, but we're going to do it together. You'd be surprised how Americans and how human beings would respond. They would rise up with you. We would rise up with you. The world would rise up with you. I want to take a moment to thank the world. I want to take a moment right now to thank the world for standing up with us in our fight for equality, to normalize equality. I want to thank all these countries around the world. Incredible, inspiring, beautiful displays of solidarity. And I want you to know something. And I feel confident speaking on behalf of your American brothers and sisters, us, through our fire, through our smoke, through our debris, through our noise, and everything that we're going through right now, because there's a lot happening around us as we're taking our lumps. Don't think for a second that we don't see you. We see you. We see you. We thank you. We love you. Look, I am like the majority of Americans. I'm not a politician, and I've never clearly been elected to office, and I am not the president of the United States. But I am a man and I am a father who cares so deeply about my family, about my children, and the world that they will live in. I care so deeply about our country and every single person in it. That's who I am. I am a man who is frustrated. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. But I'm also doing my best to stay focused and as calm as I could possibly be in the pocket to make the best decisions for my family and make the best decisions for our country. So as we continue to wait for that leader to emerge, as we continue to wait for that leader to emerge, I would recommend to all of you that we must become the leaders we're looking for. We become our own leaders because we're doing it now. We're doing it now. We must become the leaders we are looking for. And I'll ask it one more time. Where are you? Where is that compassionate leader who steps up and takes accountability for his country and all of the people in our country? Where are you? Because I'll tell you what, we're here. We're all here. We are all here. We're all here. And the process to change has already begun. The process to change has already begun. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel it across our country. Change is happening. It's going to take time. We're going to get beat up. We're going to take our lumps. It's going to be blood. But the process of change has already begun. You guys stay strong. We got this.
All right. President The Rock. Black Lives Matter. Good stuff. Really strong speech. Stronger at the beginning than the end. But still, I like what he had to say. And I like the way he expressed it. Also, I remember here's a celebrity putting his neck out on the line here. A lot of people might not like this. I know of a certain quarterback who got in a lot of trouble for saying similar things and pretty much lost his job for life. But I think we're going to talk more about that later because we've got a good story on that from Roger Goodell. A Bitcoin girl writes, I can't even focus on Bitcoin. The world is in chaos, ignited by the ignorance of an arrogant, clueless, narcissistic, privileged, empty shell of a human. Yesterday at the White House press pool, they were all set up to ask questions from social distance areas because the virus is still out there. Minutes before they were about to get to ask questions, the White House people moved the chairs in close together. The White House press secretary saying that, quote unquote, it looks better. You'll also note that Trump and his advisors are all grouped together, not socially distanced, not wearing masks. The idea that you can wish and imagine the virus away is now being effectively used by the government. This is pure propaganda purposes. Later in the speech, the president commented and said how much he liked the press better this way, close together. After he finished speaking, he didn't even take any questions. So these were props. He used them as props. He made these people less safe, more likely to catch the virus, so that they could be better props on TV. Nice. The reporters, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they complained, but they did it anyway. Hey, check out the Bitcoin group. We did the Bitcoin group yesterday with Dan Eve and Josh Gagala and me. Check it out. We talked about worldwide protest, Bitcoin price, 8,000 Bitcoin ATMs, and COVID-19. Because viruses don't go away just because you wish it. I updated the audio podcast. Yesterday's show and yesterday's Bitcoin group are now both in audio podcast form, so you can get them without all these annoying visuals and all these like buttons. You can just enjoy it on podcast form in the background. Good old Coinbase, always everyone's friend in Bitcoin. They want to sell blockchain analysis software to the IRS and DEA a year after acquiring the company Neutrino. Great job, Coinbase. You'll note once again, this is the standard Coinbase formula. There's already a company called Coin Analysis, right? Blockchain analysis. There's already companies doing this, but Coinbase ever searching for that business model. Where's our business model? Are we a Bitcoin company? Are we a crypto company? Are we a wallet? Are we an exchange? Oh, maybe we're investigating people. But you see, the problem with this, again, complete lack of leadership from the top down, complete lack of strategy, complete lack of foresight. It's going to piss off all your users. None of your users want to keep their funds at a company that's actively supporting and trying to get them in trouble with the IRS and the DEA. Does this make any sense to anybody? Bitcoin, the great free currency. Brian Armstrong allegedly likes Bitcoin, sets up Coinbase, makes all this money, gets an awesome office, tons of money, and then just hates on Bitcoin forever, tries to destroy it in every way possible. We've said, boycott Coinbase before, and we've tried to not use them, and Cash App is getting better and better. I really think everyone should start casually migrating to Cash App, and if you like it the same or better than Coinbase, at least so far, Cash App has a clear business model. Cash App is going to sell you Bitcoin. They also do a bunch of Cash App stuff, but I don't care about that part. Also, Cash App, Jack himself has pledged many times on Twitter, they are not even going to accept Litecoin. Stop asking him. So he certainly doesn't want anything to do with Ethereum and 1,000 other tokens and the other garbage that, of course, Coinbase, chasing the business model of Whoopsie from all those years ago, chasing now the business model of Binance, is trying to get in on that too. So I think if you're looking for an alternative to Coinbase, at least in the United States, and I hear they're expanding Cash App soon and all that, it's time to start. It's time to start just casually moving on. I mean, I know they're big and they tried to help Bitcoin, but I don't know about what they're doing now. The black community knew that police brutality was out of control, but to be honest, Christopher Bouzet never thought that he would see cops assaulting senior citizens and journalists in broad daylight. Yes, it has gotten much worse. But a good reminder of that this was coming was earlier in the Trump administration, people who attended KKK rallies, i.e. anti-minority people, racist people, they stopped wearing their hoods. Previously, you'd wear the hood to the KKK rally. You'd be like, we need to hide our racism because it's bad. But then when Trump was elected, they felt so good about their racism that they could all take their hats off. And then now we're seeing it in public as the police just smash people and take their nice hats off. Zach Voyle writes, I've defended Coinbase on here more than once, but lately maintaining that position is getting really hard. You're selling customer data to the feds. Your platform crashes from any 5% move. What's the upside for your customers? They really didn't think about this one. I mean, at least Google created multiple companies under Alphabet, and now like a true big brother, they can just claim, oh, that's not us. That's one of the Alphabet companies. I think Coinbase probably tried to do the same kind of strategy, but they just keep bringing everyone in because, you know, what if they could hack your security? What if they could improve your software somehow? Remember when they hired Hacking Team, the group that had been helping countries like Sudan spy on journalists? So it's just when you have no ethics, you have no character, you have no business model, and you're just copying everyone, it doesn't matter how much VC you've earned or you've raised. Sorry, you haven't earned it. You're just going to burn it all up. And in the end, there'll be a fire. And people will say, what was that fire over there? And they say, oh, that was Coinbase. That was one of the bridges. That was Cortez's ships that we used to get to the New World. And once we got to the New World, what did Cortez do with his ships? That's right. He burned them. Burn them. Burn them. Video from, looks like New York City, maybe. Police arrested a husband and wife on the stoop of their building in the UAWS just after 8 p.m. They were cheering on a peaceful protest on their block. This is at their house. They were arrested at their house and dragged away, not even part of the protest. Shout out to Binions in Las Vegas on the old downtown there. The poker tables are gone. John Mahaney here asked around. He said the consensus is that the tables are in storage in the hopes to return one day. It's the only casino he's seen so far that didn't leave their poker tables on the floor. And Binions was historically the home of the World Series of Poker before it moved over to the Rio. Benny Binion also started the World Series of Poker. He was a poker player himself and won the championship several times. And this is actually where Tone Vay's poker convention or poker conference or whatever tournament was held it seems not that long ago, but it was in February at the Bitcoin conference there. So it might have been the last poker tournament ever played there. Pretty cool. And surprisingly enough, Tone Vay's won. He won his own tournament. He's a pretty good poker player, usually goes to the top 10 or so, but this one he took home. So pretty cool. Here we go. This guy. Oh. That was pretty cool. Making fun of the police with the Imperial March. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Yeah. And here it is. The National Football League. They need to reinstate Colin Kaepernick. They need to give him a job because guess what? It turns out, remember all those protests, all the kneeling, and the NFL got all so mad, and you can't do that. You're disrespecting the flag. Guess what? Kaepernick and the other protesters were right. It turns out there is police brutality in America. It turns out that Black Lives Matter is actually an important statement and something that should be said over and over again. And it turns out that the NFL was wrong. They were wrong to do this to their players. They were wrong to blacklist Colin Kaepernick. They were wrong to deny him an NFL career. And this is not enough, this stupid apology I'm going to play. This is not enough. The Roger Goodell brought is broken again. But yes, the NFL is apologizing to the protesters because they were wrong. That means that kneeling at a football game when these football players who are celebrities, who are rich people, took their privilege and tried to use it for good, right? They tried to do what the bands in the 80s and the 90s did, trying to warn us about environmentalism and global warming and the destruction of the environment. They tried to use their celebrity for good. And what did the NFL do? They attacked them. The Dallas Cowboys coach kept his whole team in the locker room. They moved the anthem around. They wouldn't allow him to kneel. They tried to fine them. They had a whole big issue about this, and guess what? They were wrong.
It has been.
Well, it's something. It's a start. Very strange choices there. They shot him slightly from above. It's not very high quality video. He's not wearing a suit. He's wearing casual clothes, and he kind of looks like he's been taken hostage. So not really a great presentation from the NFL. Surprising considering how great they are normally at presentation, but, you know, Rona and everything. But yes, it's a step in the right direction. They were wrong. They admitted they're wrong. Let's move forward together. The NFL was wrong. Black lives do matter. And give Colin Kaepernick a job. You owe Colin Kaepernick 6 years of football playing money and all the fun he would have had. So it's not right. I thought this was from a couple of days ago, but people are really upset. I think they found out that it's a 15-year-old girl. She kneels, motionless, blinded, threatening nobody, and then they kick her in the face. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of immune to this now. But I think it was from a few days ago. But everybody was all excited about it on the internet. Again, if you want to do protesting right, this is what you have to endure. You have to sit on the ground and allow them to kick you in the face, because this proves right away that they're wrong and you're right. It's painful. It's awful. But rows and rows and rows of kneeling protesters, rows of laying down protesters willing to take it from the police will end this sooner than running around or challenging the police or attacking them or anything like that. So, as we said earlier, 57 officers from Buffalo, members of the emergency response team, have resigned from the team, showing support for the officers who shoved the 75-year-old man. They are still employed in Buffalo. So can you believe these police officers? Can you believe this? This is such a mistake. And they say it's actually the police union. And this is something that's going to come up more and more as this story unfolds and as the rest of this police reform attempts to happen in the United States. The police and fire unions in the United States are incredibly powerful. In every single local election, which are actually nonpartisan elections, usually they don't run as a Democrat or a Republican, because the issues are, you know, should we build a park? Should we build a lot of houses? Should we build less houses? These are more city-based local issues, not really Democratic, liberal, or conservative issues, but for whatever reason, they run nonpartisan. But the one thing that they all have in common is that they all take money from the police and fire unions. All of your city council and mayor candidates all take money from the police and fire unions. And guess what they want? They want more raises, more benefits, and more power for police and fire. And I don't know if you guys noticed that little thing that happened on Tuesday, but after Tuesday, somebody decided that all these people were heroes and that they needed unlimited benefits and really incredible packages and great retirement and fantastic health care and overtime. Oh, everyone should make at least twice their salary from overtime. Doesn't that happen to you? For police and fire, that's how they live their lives. That's why they have boats. The policeman's salary is relatively small. It's probably around 50 grand. But if you get overtime that makes your salary 150 grand, you could get a boat. So yes, being a cop is sweet because of the police unions, because of the fire unions. So when it comes time to try to reform these things, to say, hey, if you beat somebody up in the street, you can't be a cop anymore. The people who are going to stand up against that, not just the police, it's going to be the powerful and rich police unions. So right here, 57 officers, despite the video, despite the fact it was played on every TV channel 1,000 times yesterday, despite the fact that the 75-year-old man was no threat to them. It seemed he was asking a question. Maybe he was being flippant. Who knows? But pushing him down was not the right answer in any case, right? They have shields and clubs, heavy machinery, guns, and yet they're pushing down a 75-year-old man. Wrong, right? Then not giving him first aid, not showing concern for his injuries. Double the wrong, right? You're not a human once. You're not a human twice. Am I just to assume that you're not a human? Because that's not good. But then All of that exists. All of that's out there. The police have the chance to watch the same TV channels we did, to see the same outrage that we saw all day long. Didn't matter what time you flipped into the channel. But 57 of them have now resigned as a show of solidarity with the man who beat and who knocked down the protester, and with the others who didn't help him. Why would they do this? It's because of the union. It's because they're all working together with the police union, and the police union made a big mistake. The police union is going to try to play this hard, right? They're trying to go point to point. You want to fight us? You want to take something from us? Suspend these 2 officers for doing their job, beating up the elderly? We're going to resign from your emergency response team. We're going to do less work for you. We've got to break these police unions. I know that's a shock. It's like left-wing liberal guy arguing against unions, but unions do become too powerful. And in the police and fire cases, it's always a spectrum, right? There's something that's good when it starts out. It's good when it's small. It's good in the middle. It's bad when it becomes too powerful. I mean, there's same thing for corporations. If corporations have a little bit of power over workers, it's okay. If they have middle power, it's okay. If they have a lot of power, pretty soon you've got child labor. You've got no weekends. You've got endless overtime with no overtime pay. That used to be overtime. It didn't used to be time and a half, sweet. It used to be you just keep working, you slave. But that's because of unions. We got rid of that, but then sometimes unions get too strong. But keep an eye on this. This is going to keep happening. You're going to keep saying, why would the police do that? Why would they do that? And it's the unions. The unions are powerful. So these celebrities here don't know, but they just don't know yet. They'll know soon. Hey, check it out. 6 busloads of soldiers were dropped off near the White House. No one would tell her anything. No unit, no numbers, no orders, except that they're coming in, not going out. A soldier started speaking to her because she was a citizen, asking questions, and was reprimanded. 3 months ago exactly, Senate Republicans had the chance to hold Trump responsible for some of his crimes. Instead, they gave him a green light. Senators like Susan Collins said that he learned his lesson. Tell that to the families of over 109,000 dead Americans from the coronavirus and a nation in tatters. Donald Trump is retweeting Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck's trying to say that George Floyd was not a hero, saying that the fact he has been held up as a martyr sickens me. But that's what a martyr is, right? A martyr is someone who dies for the cause. So George Floyd has died, and because he was murdered by police, there's a cause. So he's a martyr. So I can't really spell it, but here the thing fixed it. A person who is killed because of their religious beliefs, or to kill someone because of their beliefs, a martyr. So a person who is killed for their beliefs. So yeah, George Floyd is a martyr. Glenn Beck's crazy. Check out Reward Portal at rewardportal.com. Dan, Crypto Raptor, is working on this. My friend Ben's helping out too. And you can earn Lightning Bitcoin. You can try out the Lightning Network at Reward Portal and earn money for taking surveys. That's all it is. Pretty cool. Why did the Netherlands intelligent lockdown work? It's because the Dutch actually followed the rules. I love Holland. So much better than here. When things are important, people actually followed the rules by actually staying home and locking down properly, not like the American half lockdown. I had to go out a couple of times during the lockdown to go to like ATM or get the dog to the vet, that kind of thing. And the streets are full. There was people everywhere. They weren't wearing masks. Even yesterday, streets are full. Everything's out and about. No one's staying home. No one can actually lock down because they don't think, hey, well, how does lockdown work? If we all stayed home, and the coronavirus mainly spreads from human to human transmission. So if there was no human to human meetings for 14, 16 days, the coronavirus would just leave, right? It would pretty much be gone, with the exception of people who went out or it overlapped. So by staying home, by following the rules, which is not something that people think about from the Netherlands, because there is so much freedom. There's the freedom to smoke whatever you want. There's the freedom to get other things at the shops that you can have. There's the freedom to, I don't know how to say it nicely, prostitute yourself and so on. But in addition to those freedoms come the fact that they do actually follow the rules. And you can ride your bike everywhere. It's the best. It's too hot here to ride my bike right now, but it's probably raining there, but still. Remember the press conference from just yesterday, how excited the president was. The unemployment numbers were down. It was all smoke and mirrors, another cleverly crafted scam by a con man. The actual unemployment rate is 16.3, and everything we witnessed on Friday was nothing more than market manipulation. And I do think that's a big key. Not only is there an error in this report that was found somehow easily after releasing it for 24 hours. It's almost as if we should release these reports to fact checkers first and then write articles about them. Say, hey, thank you for your report. I'm going to read it and have it checked. Then I'm going to announce your conclusions, because otherwise, have nonsense like this. As Christopher says, you mean they got caught. The group who lied about tear gassing peaceful protesters lied about the jobs report. So it does seem like there's a trend. As George W. Bush famously said, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, won't get fooled again. Just more reports. It looks like the White House rigged the job numbers yesterday, misclassifying some unemployed Americans to juke the stats. Unemployment actually went up despite Trump's lies. Trump and his loyalists will lie about anything. And I didn't believe the numbers yesterday. I didn't have any information. It was just a feeling, right? It just didn't seem right. It was Friday. Nothing in the actual economy had happened that would make me believe those numbers. But then I don't believe the stock market either. It's crazy high, and I don't know why. So keep an eye on that one. We'll see how that turns out. A federal judge in Denver has ordered the police not to use chemical weapons and projectiles against peaceful Denver protesters. The Denver Police Department has failed in its duty to police its own, Judge R. Brooke Jackson wrote in his sweeping ruling. So there are some good judges out there still. Trump finally got his wall, but it's not at the border. And, of course, the classic history lesson is that a president who needs to take shelter behind fences and barriers because he feels threatened by his own citizens is not their leader. He is their prisoner. More strange news from this strange person. General Barry McCaffrey writes, Trump approves plan to withdraw 1/3 of U.S. troops from Germany. General writes, a gift to Russia, a finger in the eye to NATO, a threat to U.S. national security. I'm not sure how many of these things just have to keep happening before you guys start to question things. It does seem like he's Putin's best friend, offering to break up NATO, arguing against the EU, arguing against our allies, and now visibly not supporting our allies by removing 1/3 of U.S. troops from Germany over the objection of the Germans and the EUs and NATO. It's just like if you had a wish list of what Vladimir Putin wished for, and you look at what this guy did, and you said, my God, he satisfied almost all of Putin's wish list. Like, I'm sure it was an accident. I'm sure that he was just throwing darts randomly into space and happened to serve Russia at almost every point, almost as if he owed them money, almost as if they had inserted money into his businesses when he was going bankrupt in the 90s. Almost as if they had, what's that Russian word? Compromat. Compromat. Comrade. Compromat. It's almost as if they have compromising information on him, controlling the way that he acts. Strange. London continues to protest with the Americans. Black Lives Matter, even in London. This is an interesting and sad story about the United States. Remembering a thread from years ago that had the question, what do people visiting your country need to know? Top reply for the U.S. was, if you're ever pulled over, don't get out of the car like you do at home. Our cops will kill you. And every non-U.S. reply was like, wait, what? But no, that's true. You can't get out of the car. They're very afraid of you at all times. You're the enemy. Shout out to Adam Ludwin. This is just good common sense advice. If you want to win a debate, you should be able to make your opponent's argument better than even they could, and then dismantle it. If you're afraid of learning what your opponent's argument is, then you have zero hope of changing minds. Here's a Trump supporter in McAllen, Texas, attacking people on the street with a chainsaw. Let's listen in. Go home, he says. Oh, it's running. Chainsaw is running. Whoa.
Antifa bullshit people to you. Don't let these pendejos right here. Don't let these fucking assholes lie to you. Don't let them lie to you. This is a valley.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I've never seen a person threaten to attack people with a chainsaw on public streets before. Look at that. It's clearly running. Whoa, threatening sounds. I mean, and again, they have camera phones, guy. Like, there's still laws. I'm going to read it in 2 or 3 days. They'll be like, man who attacked people on street with a chainsaw says he's sorry, doesn't want to go to jail, doesn't want to lose his business. Too late. Just like freedom of speech, you can say anything you want, but there are consequences. Attack anybody you want with a chainsaw, but there are consequences. So, very strange. Texas. This is, I don't know, kind of made me glad I'm not in the Bay Area. The Golden Gate Bridge now makes music. You can hear this whistle all over the city. Let's listen in. That's kind of unnerving, isn't it? Here's another one. That's annoying. I mean, it used to just make the foghorn sound all the time, which was kind of nice because it was a useful sound. But it turns out that the new bike lanes that they put on the bridge, engineers designed the new sides for the sidewalk to help with wind resistance, but didn't take into account the extreme sounds it creates when wind passes through it. The bridge sings crazy songs now. It's so trippy. It hurts the ears. And it's unbearable that it's that loud. Let's play one more. This is actually on the bridge. Oh, Twitter video. Oh, it's on full screen. That's all I wanted. That's horrible. Ha 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 ha. Well, this is really sad. It's one of the most beautiful bridges and one of the best parts of the Bay Area, and it's a tragedy that they've screwed that up. I'm sure they'll fix it. I'm sure they'll improve the slats, but for right now, what an obvious mistake. You know how fast the wind goes through there. You can simulate it on the computer. You know what slats are gonna do. But yes, poor Bay Area. You can now hear a strange ringing sound. I wonder if you could hear it at my old apartment. It probably would have driven me crazy. So, oh well, so much for that. They say it's extremely 2020 that the new railings on the Golden Gate Bridge produce a constant, ominous hum in high winds that is audible for miles. So it wouldn't be such a problem if you didn't have high winds all the time, but obviously in San Francisco you have high winds all the time. There's also a great story about an old lady who she was born before 1917. She was like the last survivor pre-bridge. And the area there actually used to be called the Golden Gate because of the mountains and Sausalito on the right and the San Francisco on the left, and the opening, the mouth of the Golden Gate, the mouth of the bay there, of the bay, goes out into the ocean, and it was just the Golden Gate. And she said it was a lot prettier before they put that bridge in. Just to show you get what you deserve when you ask a 100-year-old lady what she thinks of change. She says it was a lot prettier before they put that damn bridge in. The Guardian is writing about police brutality overseas, even saying exactly what I and others have been saying, that protests about police brutality are met with a wave of police brutality. So if you're asking yourself, do we live in a police state? If you go out and protest for your rights, will you be crushed and stomped by police? The answer is yes. So we have found the enemy, and it is us. We talked about this a lot, the misclassification error that made the unemployment rate look lower than it is. Oh, wasn't that great? Ha, ha, ha. And, of course, you all said it couldn't happen, but the president recommended it live on TV. So Americans are gargling with bleach and drinking household cleaners to prevent the coronavirus, according to the Center for Disease Control. So please do not drink bleach. Do not insert light inside of yourself. Do not gargle with disinfectants. Don't use any hydroxychloroquine from aquariums. Don't eat any dog food. I thought this was all pretty standard and self-explanatory, but apparently some people are just that suggestible. So bad news at Casino Royale, one of the smaller casinos on the Strip down by Caesars and the Link. Casino Royale has permanently removed table games. That's right, no more blackjack, roulette, or craps. It's over at Casino Royale, likely a combination of factors. The coronavirus making everything dirty. Who wants to touch cards anymore? The employees making everything cost money. And the reality that you can just put up a bunch of slot machines and slot blackjack machines and slot craps machines and slot roulette machines and just take their money without any employees at all. The future. It's the anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy invasion in France. 110,000 Americans dead from the coronavirus. The economy in the shitter. Record unemployment, mass civil unrest, and Trump's in Maine, campaigning on the idea of using the American military to crush Americans. Just let that sink in for a little bit. Thought this was pretty funny. This is Kendall Jenner. I guess she's one of the Kardashians. I don't know. But here she is on Facebook, really standing up for Black Lives Matter, really showing her support. Of course, if you look closer at the picture, it's a shadow. She's not wearing a sign, or she's not holding a sign. They photoshopped the sign in. It's not just the shadow that's bad. You can see she's not even gripping the sign. If you look just a little bit closer, the sign is just tacked on right next to her hands. So, great idea, social media manager for Kendall Jenner. At least we got some chuckles. So, shout out to Elon Musk. He's writing on Twitter, selling weed literally went from major felony to essential business open during the pandemic in much of America, and yet many are still in prison. Doesn't make sense, isn't right. Damn right, Elon Musk. They should let everyone go who is involved in marijuana sales, etc., etc. All non-violent offenders should be released. Just like right now. Like, let them go. Like now. Probably another long read here in the Atlantic. What the United States is witnessing is less like the chaos of 1968 that further divided a nation, and more like the nonviolent movements that earned broad societal support in places such as Serbia, Ukraine, and Tunisia. The article is titled, "The Trump Regime is Beginning to Topple." Once again, more unidentified military-esque officers in Washington, D.C. No badges, no insignias, no name tags, nothing. Refuse to tell us who they're with. In America. And again, legally, if a guy with no identification gives you an order, is it lawful? I'm not sure it would be. And what if things were like this for other jobs? Officer accused of pushing teen during protest has 71 use of force cases on file. 71 times they've been like, hey, stop beating people up. You can keep your job. Imagine Dairy Queen employee accused of shitting in the soft serve machine has 71 incidents of shitting in the soft serve machine on file. At any other job. Shout out to Twitter. Studies are showing that they are triggering our dopamine receptors with social media. So, great work, I guess. It's too bad that we haven't used it for anything more meaningful and beneficial for humanity rather than the current endless loop. There it goes. Brave browser, interesting choice, must be running out of money. Apparently, when you type into the Brave browser Binance.us, instead of going to Binance.us, you put your referral code in for Brave browser so that they can get the referral points for you using Binance. Classy. Very anti-privacy, very freedom-oriented. And remember the other day, I'm not sure I played the video because I knew this was going to happen, but this guy was attacking people who were trying to set up a little shrine for George Floyd. There were some kids. They were going to put up some flyers. He decided he didn't like it. He had a bicycle. He was a big man. Well, now it turns out that Anthony Brennan III, 60 years old, has been arrested on 3 counts of second-degree assault related to the incident in Maryland where Brennan, on tape, got off his bike and yanked George Floyd flyers from a child and assaulted 2 others per the park police. So once again, video cameras work. This guy was just a random guy on the street, thought they shouldn't be putting up flyers, thought he was the one to do something about it, went over there and grabbed those flyers, and here he is getting his mugshot in jail. And we did it. We made it to the top of the news. Didn't even take that long, an hour and 15 minutes. We'll open it up for phone calls. If you guys would like to call in now, you can call us now on Skype at 1-518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We'll try to keep this open for about 5 minutes if there's any phone calls. Otherwise, we'll head to the end of the show. It'd be nice to do a shorter show. It is Saturday. So let's see. Trying to figure out where Thompson is these days. Let's see what he's up to. Oh, these are some weird post book sections. Let's see. Hurry up with those drinks, said my attorney. We're thirsty. He laughed and rolled his eyes as the bartender glanced back at him. Only 2 rums, he said. Make mine a Bloody Mary. The bartender seemed to siphon, but our Georgia friend didn't notice. His mind was somewhere else. Hell, I really hate to hear this, he said quietly, because everything that happens in California seems to get down our way, sooner or later. Mostly Atlanta, but I guess that was back when the goddamn bastards were peaceful. It used to be that all we had to do was keep them under surveillance. They didn't even roam around much, he shrugged. But Jesus, now, nobody's safe. They could turn up anywhere. You're right, said my attorney. We learned that in California. You remember when Manson turned up, don't you? Right out there in the middle of Death Valley. He had a whole army of sex fiends out there. We only got our hands on a few. Most of the crew got away, just ran off across the sand dunes like big lizards. And every one of them stark naked, except for the weapons. They'll turn up somewhere pretty soon, I said. And let's hope that we'll be ready for them. The Georgia man whacked his fist on the bar. But we can't just lock ourselves in the house and be prisoners, he exclaimed. We don't even know who these people are. How do you recognize them? You can't, my attorney replied. The only way to do it is take the bull by the horns. Go to the mat with this scum. What do you mean by that? He asked. You know what I mean, said my attorney. We've done it before, and we can damn well do it again. Cut their goddamn heads off, I said. Every one of them. That's what we're doing in California. What? Sure, said my attorney. It's all on the QT, but everybody who matters is with us all the way down the line. God, I had no idea it was that bad out there, said our friend. We keep it quiet, I said. It's not the kind of thing you'd want to talk about upstairs, for instance. Not with the press around. Our man agreed. Hell no, he said. We'd never hear the goddamn end of it. Dobermans don't talk, I said. What? Sometimes it's easier just to rip out the backstraps, said my attorney. They'll fight like hell if you try to take the head without dogs. God almighty. We left him at the bar, swirling the ice in his drink and not smiling. He was worried about whether or not to tell his wife about it. She'd never understand, he muttered. You know how some women are. I nodded. My attorney was already gone, scurrying through a maze of slot machines towards the front door. I said goodbye to our friend, warning him not to say anything about what we told him. And that's about it for this show. Thanks so much for joining us. The unemployment numbers were fake. So it goes. The price of Bitcoin, turns out it went down a little bit more during the show. The price is down 1.59% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,596, a high of 9,756, and a low of 9,552. That's $1 for 10,420 Satoshis. Volume was a little low, but it's a weekend, with 2,082 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 85% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 65.61%. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Check out the Bitcoin group from yesterday. We had a live panel discussion. Really good stuff. Talked about all the major issues and Bitcoin. So we managed to fit everything in, and it's only like an hour. So pretty sweet. Check it out. We'll be back again tomorrow, hopefully with less news. Hopefully we'll have time to get some big books out and to get back to the regular schedule here. But as you know, the protests are continuing. Trump has offered no possible solution other than more violence and more soldiers. So we'll see how that turns out. The coronavirus is still out there. Everyone's ignoring it and pretending that it didn't happen. But we'll see how that works out too. As they say, you can shit into one hand and wish into the other and see which hand fills up first. Until next time, bye.